Well, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Milton in Canada, one of the suburbs of Toronto, the fastest growing community in Canada for the last 5 years. Toronto, a dynamic city with, of course, the CN Tower overhead, some sights and sounds of Toronto. Milton in Canada is going to bring us the next round of the UCI Track Cycling World Cup. So as we look across this magnificent velodrome, here's the schedule for this Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup. We're going to start off with the men's sprints. We've got loads of racing to bring you throughout the evening. And of course, we will tie things up with the winners of the World Cup round. We're also going to bring you a few highlights of the last couple of days of racing here in Milton. This is a magnificent new facility opened in 2015. It's Christina Vogel getting ready for what will be her final World Cup of this year's series before she goes home and gets herself ready for the World Championships, which are a lot earlier this year. We turn our attention then to the men's sprint semi-finals. This is the start list. And straight away, we're going to, I'm sure, get the crowd going. As you can see in heat number 2, Hugo Barrette is going to be taking part. First up on the track then, Jeffrey Hoogland in the orange for the Netherlands. And he's up against the youngster from Great Britain, Jack Carlin. The riders making their way up onto the track, being pushed onto the side banking. Side banking always a little bit lower in its gradient compared to the end banking, which is around about 43 degrees. Very, very steep indeed. The track, 250 meters. There is Carlin, comes from Paisley in Scotland, 20 years of age, up against Hoogland, the European champion of the sprint in 2015. So the riders make their way out onto the track. We are into the semi-finals, which means that the riders will be riding for the best of 3 runs. So it's all about getting to the second win as fast as possible. Tactics always... Carlin going very, very high up on the track. Two laps to go. Carlin now making his way onto the front. Hoogland is a rider who likes to go for a very, very long sprint. Twice silver medalist in the World Championships in the sprint. Carlin getting used to this racing. Oh, that was very, very tight. Hoogland went inside the red line. Carlin tried to close the door, but you're not allowed to once the rider makes their way inside the sprinter's line. But Carlin is going to challenge on the line. Hoogland looked like he took it 1-0. That was very, very tight between those two riders. Hoogland dived inside. He takes it. But Carlin thought about closing the door. That could have been a pretty major crash between those two riders. 0.006 between the two of them. Carlin working hard to try and get back on terms. Hoogland, though, still had the speed and the power into those final turns. There's the verdict. About a quarter a wheel, maybe even less between the two riders. Jeffrey Hoogland goes 1-0 up. We'll come back to that contest in a little while. Up onto the track then, heat number 2. This is going to be an interesting one. The Canadians enjoying seeing their home riders up here on the track. Hugo Barrette of Canada at the top of the track then. Twice the gold medalist in the Pan American Games. Up against this man, Ethan Mitchell. Twice a world champion of the team sprint. Silver medalist in the Olympic Games in the team sprint. He's the lead-off man for the team sprint of New Zealand. And judging by yesterday, he's on very, very good form. But Hugo Barrette is, to me, starting to look very quick. Mitchell leads onto the Côte d'Azur at the bottom of the track. That's the blue section. Hugo Barrette has certainly looked strong in the last few rounds of this competition. I was talking to Laura Brown a little while ago, who of course is a great track rider for Canada and rode for United Healthcare on the road. She was telling me that the Canadians have got a new sprint coach, which of course is one of the former French sprint coaches. And Hugo Barrette is responding really, really well to having this new coach. Mitchell then trying to stay high, and Barrette goes down inside that red sprinter's line. He's the first to go for it. Mitchell is a little bit outwitted there by that sprint manoeuvre by Hugo Barrette, who has left the New Zealander a long, long way behind. Great turn of speed by the Canadian. The crowd absolutely loving it in this Milton Velodrome. 1-0. Superior to the tactics of Ethan Mitchell. There's the replay. That's going to be an interesting contest to see whether Barrette can dismiss Mitchell and go through to the final. They're in the track centre. May see on the left-hand side, there he is, Kurt Harnett, one of the very famous riders from Canadian cycling. To the track, and we are going to turn our attention to the team sprint. Women's team sprint. This is going to be the ride-off for the bronze medal. And the bronze medal ride-off between the Republic of Korea and Great Britain. And the Great Britain team, Katie Marchant up against Sophie Capewell on one side of the track, with the Republic of Korea on the other. Kim Won-young and Lee Hai-jin. 40 seconds until we get this race underway. This race, of course, 2 laps of the track. The front rider leads off. The second rider gets into the slipstream. And then it's all about the time at the end. This is for the bronze medal, counting down to the race start. Underway for both these teams. Leading off then for Great Britain, Sophie Capewell. Leading off, Kim Won-young of the Republic of Korea. Let's see what they are doing after the first lap. And it is Korea, 0.177 faster. Trying to pick the pace up then is Katie Marchant. Marchant, of course, the star of the Olympic Games, making her way now to the completion of this race. But Korea win that with 33.603. They take the bronze medal, 0.394 ahead, 52.946 kilometers an hour. Well, the Koreans getting faster and faster all the time in the women's team sprint. 33.603 to give you an idea of the comparison of a world record. China are the world record holders in 32.034. So we're looking at a time which was 1.6 seconds slower than the Chinese world record.
All right, so it is now time for our women's team sprint.
Onto the track then for the gold medal ride-off. And we are welcoming onto the track the German fearsome pairing of Miriam Welter and Christina Vogel, the Olympic champions and the world champions, up onto the track now. Christina Vogel, who has been prolific so far in the World Cups this season, unbeaten in all competitions. On the other side of the track, we have Hetty van der Waal and Lorien van Riesen. These two riders have got their work cut out to beat Vogel and Welter. Miriam Welter, who looked good yesterday, about to get underway. Bursting out of the blocks then, they need a good start. So much power is needed to get this gear turning over. Very good start though by the Dutch team. This is a good ride. Germany though, 11.611 for the opening split. Welter turning up the pressure then. 0.282 ahead. Now Vogel uses this really high cadence that she's got. Vogel is absolutely flying. Look at the speed, 0.7 ahead. Vogel is going to hit the line. Whoa, 32.759. 54.947 kilometers an hour. Christina Vogel and Miriam Welter win the women's team sprint. The Dutch 1.2 seconds behind the speed of the Germans. Well, it was a good performance by Lorien van Riesen and Hetty van der Waal, but they had absolutely no answer to Christina Vogel and Miriam Welter. Miriam Welter very happy with that performance. She said to me yesterday that the legs felt good. It's been a long, tough season leading up to now. They're going to have a break over Christmas and then they're going to get ready for the World Championships. And who's to say they can't win yet another world title? Turning our attention then to the men's team pursuits. Fast and furious, the changes here in the racing. As we see the team of Switzerland. They've brought in Gail Suter for this lineup this time on the Swiss team. And they're going to be up against the team of the United States of America on the other side of the track. Here they are. Summerhill, Lambie, Holloway and Young.
Next up, we move to the men's team pursuit finals.
Both these teams then have changed one rider from the last round of racing. And this is for the bronze medal ride-off between Switzerland and the United States of America. Holloway on the right-hand side. Out of the blocks for both these squads. So 4,000 metres, 16 laps of the track. The gold medal ride-off again is going to please the home nation because Canada are going to ride against New Zealand. As the American team settle down, 21.2 for their opening split. And the Swiss team settling into their rhythm. Some of the bigger nations in terms of team pursuiting, the likes of Australia and Great Britain, not here in this World Cup. So an opportunity here for one of these nations to try and take the medals, compared to sometimes when you have the British and the Australians who are so fast. But these nations are all getting quicker all the time. The team of Canada set a national record in qualification. United States of America go through the opening split in a 1-4. That's faster than their split in qualification. They went through in 1-5-6-1-8. This time they've gone through in 1-4-7-8-1. The Swiss team in a 1-5-4-1-6, a little bit slower. That was their qualification time. This time 1-5-5-0-3. Both teams don't look to be under any pressure yet. Just looking at these bikes of the American riders, and they've already lost a rider. The Swiss team with 4 riders intact as we head towards the 2,000 metre point. The Swiss look very well drilled, even although they're losing 0.804, and the Americans with 3 riders have got a little bit of work to do here. The American squad not riding their unusual bikes with the chain rings on the inside compared to on the left-hand side compared to the normal position on the right-hand side. We saw their team, their women's team.
4/10 of a second, though. This is becoming a very tight and close race. Let's go, guys! Push it! Come on!
And now the United States of America are starting to lose the advantage. The Swiss team are really starting to turn the pressure on. So the Swiss are riding to a schedule and they're now 0.027 ahead. Now the American team come back a little bit. 0.129. 0.6066 now. The United States just holding on. The Swiss team trying to find a little bit more speed if they can. And now the Swiss team start to put the pressure on. Inside the final kilometre, 0.465 now, the Swiss team are ahead, 0.824. Now the advantage of having 4 riders with that little extra bit of rest is starting to pay dividends. They go ahead even further, 1.193 ahead. The Swiss team Really strong now in this final kilometre. All 4 riders intact. The United States of America are starting to drift away. They lost a rider very, very early. 1.488 is now the difference. They're going to come up towards the finish, and it's going to be the bronze medal for the Swiss. 4.3425, 59.156. That's faster than their qualification time. Confirmation of the times then. 4.3425 for Switzerland, 4.5025 for the United States of America. The Swiss team rode to a very good schedule then. They let the American team go away and then they just rode them back. Very happy with that performance, the Swiss team. Bronze medal goes to them. Up onto the track then. The Canadian team. Can the Canadian team now bring home a gold medal? Up against the New Zealand team of Gray, Sexton, Stewart and Kogotsu. Underway then for the Canadians and the New Zealand team going for the gold medal. The Canadians have just got to keep themselves under control here. If they win the gold medal in this World Cup, then the Milton crowd are going to go absolutely massive now. They're going to go very, very loud. Sold out this afternoon in this arena. Lots of hospitality as well. It's a small velodrome in terms of numbers of seats, but they're getting loads of support. It's been really interesting how they managed to fund this velodrome with lots of a panel of previous cycling stars and business people who came together to raise the money to make this happen. And yesterday they raised even more money to make sure that they had enough money to keep a programme running for the next few years here in this velodrome to help Canadian cycling grow at world level. It's making a massive difference and you can already feel the buzz around this velodrome. Canada 0.919 ahead of this New Zealand team. And interestingly, it was the Canadian women who were up against the New Zealand women yesterday, so it's the same in the final of the men's team pursuits. 0.924. Have the Canadians gone out too hard? Have the New Zealanders decided to ride a specific schedule? Let's see what happens at the end of the 2,000-metre point. They are going even further ahead. 1.096. 1.167 now for the Canadians. They go through 2,000 metres in 2:15.71, faster than their qualification time. The New Zealanders a little bit slower than their qualification time, so the New Zealanders should be able to pick the pace up a little bit, which could be a bit ominous for this Canadian team. Now the New Zealand team are starting to turn the pressure on. This is going to be very, very tight. The New Zealanders have gone to equal on time now. They are piling on the pressure. The Canadian squad starting to suffer a little bit. One member of this team is slowing them down. Now the Canadians go ahead. There must be something wrong with that split. There had to be. But the Canadians have done a massive turn. Their front rider that time. Oh! To 3 riders, and I think the rider that crashed wasn't one of the riders they wanted to lose. This is going to be really, really close now. I don't know if the Canadians can hold on. What a fight this is going to be. 0.011. Somehow the Canadians have managed to hold this together. Everyone is screaming in this velodrome. New Zealand go ahead by 0.210. The shoulders of this Canadian team all over the place now. I'm pretty sure one of their riders was about to swing off, and the crash happened, and suddenly they had to keep these 3 riders intact. Now they go ahead. 1 lap to go. It's a furious fight. New Zealand have gone ahead. 0.796. Flat out from both these teams, but the New Zealand squad look more together, more well drilled. They hit the line. New Zealand win 3:59.000. Canadians just 0.982 behind. What a ride between those 2 squads. A huge crash on the track. The New Zealanders 3:59.000, Canada 3:59.982. Let's take a look at the crash that happened. Let's see what happened here. Oh, touch of wheels. That was incredible. The second rider touched a wheel, I think, and the third rider crashed. How they didn't all come down, I don't know. When you touch a wheel at that speed. See what happens. I don't even think that he hits. Just went all over the place. That was incredible. I think he was about to hit the wheel, went on the inside for the foam padding. Normally they just clip away. And suddenly he was all over the place. I don't even know if his hand came off the riser on the handlebars, maybe, that caused him to be a little bit all over the place. No matter what, New Zealand are okay, and a few battle scars and a few splinters later, and they get the silver medal. So the New Zealanders will get the gold medal. The Canadians have got a story to tell for certain, and we're going to turn our attention back to the sprint. Thanks to all of you for joining us, and if you'd like to tweet me, @AntMcCrossan is where you can join me. Thanks for all your messages. Nancy Ariola, thank you for watching. I'm sure you are going to be watching Sophia later on in the racing. Grant, I'll explain the rule about the red line in a second. Cindy, Martin and Whitney, we're working on the audio and just checking that you can now hear everything that's going on. It's very loud in this velodrome, and the guys doing the audio are working really hard to make sure that the mix as we call it is just about right, but it's constantly going up and down, the volume in this velodrome. This is the ride for the next round of the sprint in this Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup. This is the semi-final stage, so the riders trying to fight their way through to ride for the gold medal. Jeffrey Hoogland, the rider in the orange, the Dutch rider, is 1-0 up against Jack Carlin, the British rider. And before we get underway, that will have to be fixed. Now, normally what happens is there is a track inspection straight after a crash like that. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of splinters. Let's take a look at this crash again, and let's see if we can all work out what happened. So he hits the foam, but I don't know whether his riser on his bars, he slipped off or something. He almost touched the wheel. And suddenly they were all over the place. The third rider crashing, but that's the damage to the track. So we're going to end up pulling Jeffrey Hoogland and Jack Carlin off the track because, as you can see, the splinters in this wood could possibly puncture the tyres. And Jack Carlin says, I'm going to go off. There's a little bit of repair is going to be needed here. A little bit of work needs to happen. The sprint coach is just checking things, and here we go. This is what happens when you repair the track. Basically, they will sand it down very quickly. A little bit of filler, they'll put some tape over it, and then they'll fix it properly tomorrow. But you can't race on this because the punctures that could be caused, and also the fact that you can get splinters into the body of a rider is unsafe, and we don't want that to happen. So there we go, they've sanded it down a little bit of filler. This is your normal Sunday afternoon DIY. Fills it in and puts some tape over it. It's your normal Sunday afternoon job. There you go, nice and easy. It's just like filling a hole at home that you've drilled incorrectly, like a few centimetres to the left when you were supposed to put it to the right. Jack Carlin getting ready. And the tape goes over the top. This track, of course, made crafted out of wood. As you can see, every single little section screwed down. Very carefully made. There's a couple of track builders who make these tracks around the world. Each one individually designed to fit how the building is going to be, and for the specifics of how a nation would like their track to be. This one was set up in 2015. About 2011, there started to be a proposal that Milton might become a home for a velodrome. And as you walk into the velodrome here, there's a lovely chart on the wall, and it details all the donors who came together to make this happen. It's called the Matami National Cycling Centre. Matami are house builders in the area. But it's a big group of business people who have come together to make this happen, but also ex-riders, the likes of the yellow jersey holder of the Tour de France, Steve Bauer, Kurt Harnett, one of their fast sprinters, Michael Barry, ex-rider. And everyone is supporting it and trying to make this the very best facility for Canada so that they can win as much as possible. Outside at the moment is pretty much farmland with houses across the road, but the proposal is there's going to be a university here and courts for gymnastics and also walking and jogging and fitness centres and everything. So it's going to be a fantastic facility that will be built around this velodrome as the focal point over the next few years. Okay, turning our attention back to the sprint. Jeffrey Hoogland, 1-0 up. Little power meter underneath the saddle. That's the little orange box that you can see there. That's recording all the data going through the pedals. There it is. So that is just recording straight from the cranks that he's turning around. It records all his data, the power that he puts through the pedals. And up in the stands, there is a group of analysts, and they analyse the racing. They film all the racing. They send it by Wi-Fi into the track centre for the coaches to analyse straight after a round of racing. It's very scientific indeed. Hoogland was 1-0 up, so he won't have had much to analyse in between the last round. He'll know that he has the measure of Jack Carlin so far. Carlin will have assessed how Hoogland won that last round. And Hoogland now puts in a big spurt. 2 laps to go. Hoogland is inside the red line. That's the red sprinters line. And once he's inside that, Carlin has to challenge round the outside. He can't go on the inside once Hoogland is there. Bit of a drag race to the line then. Oh, close, but Hoogland is going to take it. 2-0 up. He goes through to the final to ride for the gold medal. Carlin will ride for the bronze medal later on. Powerful sprint by Jeffrey Hoogland. 70.9 kilometres an hour, 10.1 for the final 200 metres on the track, and congratulated there by Jack Carlin, who came back at him, but Hoogland had a lot of speed still from that initial effort. There's the margin of victory, about half a wheel. Thanks for your messages on Twitter @AntMcCrossan. Don't forget to follow @UCI_cycling as well for all the news. Steph Sitlington, thanks for your message. Whitney, thank you. I'll tell the audio team that they've done a great job and that you can hear exactly what's going on now. Up on the track again then. Hugo Barrette is 1-0 up against Ethan Mitchell in the black of New Zealand. Mitchell, as I mentioned before, silver medalist in the Olympic Games in the team sprint with Sam Webster. Here they go. Getting themselves organised. Barrette looking to go through to ride for this gold medal now. Both these riders, as you can see, wearing the aerodynamic socks, which they're allowed to have midway between their knee and their ankle. So they'll have them as long as they possibly can. Hugo Barrette keeping his head turned round, looking at Ethan Mitchell. Both the riders choosing to have the disc wheel in the back and the carbon fibre rimmed spoked wheel on the front. Three laps, 2 laps to go now, 3 laps in total. Mitchell this time is not making the mistake of giving Hugo Barrette any bit of an advantage. He's stuck right on the wheel. Here he goes though, decides to open up the sprint. He wants to get the advantage, and the kick on Hugo Barrette. A big turn of speed by Ethan Mitchell. Barrette's going to have to work really hard, but Mitchell is one of the fastest team sprinters in the world. Once he gets that advantage, it's going to be very hard for Barrette to come back. It's going to go to a decider. 1-1 between Mitchell and Barrette to decide who goes through to ride for the gold medal. Ethan Mitchell got his tactics absolutely perfect. So Hugo Barrette will have to go back in and analyse what went on, get those legs to recover and get himself back out here to try and ride for the gold. Great racing between those two sprinters. Hugo Barrette just recovering then. Well, we've seen some live racing then, and we're going to turn our attention back to see what's happened over the last couple of days. This is a women's Omnium. The standings after the tempo race, which is the second race of 4. Kajihara was leading. Kajihara, the Japanese rider, 20 years of age, and just about to be eliminated. The Italian rider there at the back. She's already out. And the Danish rider is eliminated. Trini Schmidt. We haven't got Amelie Diedrichsen here, who we normally have. At the back then, Rachele Barbieri in trouble again, the Italian rider. But it looks like it's going to be very, very close here. And a really tight sprint between Caponi and Bacikova. So Bacikova, the Slovakian rider, is now eliminated. Elżbieta Bacikova taken out of the race. Two riders really suffering every time. Barbieri is having to work so hard to stay in this race. Across the line, Clara Caponi out of the race for France. Clara Caponi rode the team pursuit here. On the front then, Eleanor Dickinson riding for Great Britain. And Alison Beveridge of Canada also in there. Beveridge, really strong competitor. Yumi Kajihara in trouble in the red and white. This 20-year-old rider, but she squeezes through that time. And it looks like Rachele Barbieri has disappeared and is out of the race. So we're down to the last few riders. On the back of the group, Saita of Lithuania. Doesn't seem to have the speed, but she does. She manages to get past Raquel Sheath. And Raquel Sheath of New Zealand is taken out of the race. Getting close then. Kajihara has been really strong in this Omnium so far. Asian champion in the scratch race. Trying to find her way through if she possibly can. And this time it looks like it is the Lithuanian Balasaita who is taken out of the action. Down to the last 3. Eleanor Dickinson riding on the front for Great Britain. Her British teammate, of course, Laura Kenny, the Olympic champion. Has just had a baby a little while ago, just returned to training. And Kajihara. Oh, very close then. Beveridge and Kajihara almost touching wheels then. And Beveridge trying to get back on terms with Kajihara and Dickinson. Dickinson leading out. Kajihara squeezes through. And Alison Beveridge finishes 3rd in the elimination race. Alison Beveridge rides for Rally. Bronze medalist in the Olympic Games in the team pursuit. Down to the last 2. Eleanor Dickinson, one of the youngest British riders, decides to go to the front here and try and outwit Kajihara. Kajihara has been dominating this Omnium so far and is going to now go past Dickinson. Kajihara looks far too fast. She has a good sprint, and Yumi Kajihara wins the elimination race. All smiles from Yumi Kajihara. And here's the standings then after the elimination race. 120 points to 108. All smiles from Kajihara. She just has to get this points race right to then win the Women's Omnium in this World Cup.
Silver,
11 laps to go. This is the next sprint lap. Kajihara has dominated this points race. Certainly is dominating every race in this Omnium so far. 10 laps to go. And Kajihara is going to win her first World Cup by the looks of things. She's away in this group of 4 riders. She's with the Norwegian rider Anita Stenberg, who goes to the top of the track in 3rd place there. The rider on the back is the Mexican rider, Salazar. And Machakova is also in here. Machakova, the talented rider from the Czech Republic. 7 sprints gone. Kajihara has 134. Beveridge with 120. Dickinson with 116. Bit of a challenge between Dickinson and Beveridge. But they've kind of eliminated each other now, and Kajihara has benefited from that and has gone clear. On the front, the Norwegian, Anita Stenberg. This is us back in the pack. Beveridge in the Canadian colours, keeping an eye on Ellie Dickinson. Dickinson is a former future star of the Revolution series in Great Britain. And these 4 riders working well together. If they can take a lap, they'll get another 20 points. They've only got 6 laps to do it. Kajihara, if she takes that, will have won this Omnium competition with a distinctly clear advantage on everyone else. There's Beveridge and Dickinson. Beveridge, you'll notice, is being pretty clever about how she's riding. She's actually keeping an eye on the giant screens at either end of the track. One of them has the results, the other one shows the action, and she's actually keeping an eye on exactly what is going on and where her rivals are. You just notice every time she just looks up. 4 laps to go. This quartet is almost on the back of the group. Big turn of pace by Salazar of Mexico. Can they get there? 3 laps to go now. And it's almost going to be 20 points for all 4 of these riders, which wouldn't damage the top 3. Kajihara, who goes clear now. Kajihara goes and is going to catch the peloton and is going to get an extra 20 points. And the other 3 have been left behind. So Kajihara powers her way across. There's no doubt now who the winner of this Omnium is. Now it's all about the sprint between Dickinson and Alison Beveridge to see who finishes 2nd and 3rd. Kajihara is on the wheels. So she is in the peloton. She's got the 20 points. Dickinson is going clear. But I think, judging by the way that Kajihara has ridden, Dickinson will finish 3rd. And Beveridge will stay 2nd. Kajihara punches the air. That's her first World Cup. A great win by the Japanese rider. Average speed of that race, 45 kilometers an hour. Kajihara high-fives the crowd. This Omnium competition is really hard now. It's all sprint events, like sprints in an endurance race, so that hurts the legs a lot. Confirmation of the standings after 4 races. Yumi Kajihara wins her first World Cup. Beveridge of Canada in 2nd, and Dickinson of Great Britain in 3rd.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
There's our podium of the Women's Omnium. Ellie Dickinson takes the bronze. Beveridge of Canada takes the silver. Yumi Kajihara takes the gold medal. The men's team sprint. The Czech Republic up against France to decide who takes the bronze medal. Francois Pervis of France leads off. Pervis so fast. Of course, world record holder at the kilometre. Pervis leading through. But the Czech Republic, 17.754. That's a good start by them. 0.247 ahead for the Czech Republic. Coming down to the last riders on the track, 0.235 ahead for the Czech Republic. Are they going to beat the French? French would be bitterly disappointed if they were beaten here. Now turning the pressure on, heading towards the conclusion of this race, and it's the Czech Republic that take it. 44.094, 0.176 ahead of the French team. The average speed of that ride, 61.233 kilometers an hour. Martin Czechman, Pavel Kellerman, David Sojka, the winners, who will take the gold medal. Here are the world champions. New Zealand, Ed Dawkins, Sam Webster, Ethan Mitchell. On the other side of the track, the British team, with Jack Carlin and two members of the Olympic Championship winning team, and they are Phil Hines and Callum Skinner. Jack Carlin out of the blocks, up against Ethan Mitchell on the other side of the track for New Zealand. The world champions are very quick now. They've had this same squad for so long. Ed Dawkins, Mitchell and Webster, world champions, silver medalists in the Olympic Games. Down to the last two riders. It will be Skinner for Great Britain up against Ed Dawkins of New Zealand. The New Zealanders 0.198 ahead now. Now they're starting to turn the pressure on to Callum Skinner. They go 0.388 ahead. This is a tremendous ride by the New Zealanders. They hit the line. New Zealand win 62.304 kilometers an hour. 0.586 ahead of the Great Britain team. And with Great Britain bringing in another member of their Olympic team, the New Zealanders will be buoyed with motivation after beating that squad. And to be fair, Jack Carlin, with that start, was only 0.001 ahead of the New Zealanders after the first lap. So the two British Olympic champions didn't manage to capitalise on that speed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez acclamer nos médaillés.
I'm just super proud to be lining up with these guys. I know how much hard work they put in, and the results come with all the hard work. So I'm just really proud of these guys, and obviously proud of our result, and looking for next year.
The New Zealand team looking ahead then to the World Championships. We have a look now at the men's Madison. 120 laps of the track. Showing you the highlights here of the men's Madison from yesterday. 32 laps to go. On the front of the race, the Great Britain team turning the pressure on. Looking very, very good in this Madison. Mark Stewart and Ollie Woods. 30 laps to go. The New Zealanders getting involved in the mix as well. so far, though. New Zealand with 5 points in that sprint, 3 more sprints to go. Great Britain with 3, Belgium with 2. And it's the Belgian team who have been dominating this race so far. Belgium with 24 points. Great Britain on 17, tied on points with the New Zealanders. New Zealand, Thomas Sexton and Campbell Stewart. So we need 27 laps of racing to go. The Belgian team, normally we expect to see Kenny de Ketelaere and De Pauw together, but this time we've got Kenny de Ketelaere and Lindsay de Wilde. New pairing for the Belgian squad. 20 laps to go. Looks like the Danish took it that time. Lindsay de Wilde's a 22-year-old rider. De Ketelaere, 10 years older than his teammate. But the pace is incredibly high out here. The New Zealanders, a young team, sprint number 10, 2 more to go. Denmark with 5 points, Belgium score again with 3, and Great Britain score 2 as well. For the Belgian team, 27 points, 19 to Britain, 17 to New Zealand. And of course, remember, if you take a lap, you get another 20 points. So this race is not over yet, as New Zealand now turn the pressure on the Belgian team. Sexton and Stewart trying to go clear. Kenny de Ketelaere, the winner, of course, of the 6 days of Ghent, of Amsterdam, of Berlin. And he throws Lindsay de Wilde into the action for the next sprint. It's all about the sprint points here. And it looks like the New Zealanders took some points ahead of Belgium. Only 1 more sprint to go. The Belgians still leading in this men's Madison. Very important to get your handslings right, to throw your partner into the action just before the sprint, so you've got a nice fresh pair of legs, or fresh-ish pair of legs, to get involved in the sprints. 1 more sprint to go. New Zealand scored 5, Belgium 3, United States of America with 2, Denmark with 1. Which means Belgium have an 8-point lead over the New Zealand team. Great Britain on 19 in 3rd place. 3 laps to go. Kenny de Ketelaere, 32 years of age, world champion of the Madison in 2012. And now a big attack comes from the British team, Mark Stewart and Ollie Wood. The New Zealanders now trying to get involved in the action. No one is going to take a lap in this Madison, which is a big surprise. And Great Britain are trying to race away to make sure they're in the medals. Up against here the Danish team. Great Britain sprinting against Denmark. Denmark look like they're going to take the final sprint. Great Britain in 2nd. Belgium is going to score points. They secure the Madison. 32-year-old de Ketelaere, 22-year-old de Wilde. And de Wilde's first World Cup and his first Madison win in the World Cup. All celebrations by de Ketelaere and de Wilde. De Ketelaere guiding his young charge there to the win. 32 points, 26 to New Zealand. Our podium, Great Britain, New Zealand, and there's our winners.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez acclamer les médaillés.
It's our first race together, and I have like a kind of a tradition. Every time I race for the first time in a big competition with a young guy, I always used to win. And didn't want to tell him in the beginning of the week, but yeah, we proved it again. He did a great race. He has already more experience than some people know, and I didn't have to tell him much. He has a good speed, and I'm normally pretty strong, so it's a good combination.
Kenny de Ketelaere not putting the pressure on Lindsay de Wilde, but he keeps his record intact. Up on the track again, this is the decider of the men's sprint semi-finals. Hugo Barrette and Ethan Mitchell 1-all in this competition. A bit of a difference in the styles of these two riders. Ethan Mitchell not sure choosing even to wear mitts or gloves. Hugo Barrette a bit more traditional with the long fingered gloves. Both the riders will put chalk on the gloves or the hands to make sure they stick to the bars. Riders don't, on these bars, haven't got any tape on them. They've got a kind of rough surface to the holding position. Thanks for all your messages, though, at Ant McCrossan and at UCI_cycling. Lawrence Skinner, thank you very much for your message. I hope you and Betty are enjoying the racing. Doug Evans, thanks for your insight as to what happened in that team pursuit. We won't dwell on it too much. Here we go then with the sprint. Barrette goes shoulder to shoulder with Mitchell. He gets the lead. Mitchell's trying to work hard here to come back. Can he get on terms? Barrette looks very, very good. He's being driven here by this Canadian crowd. Mitchell's trying to come back at him. Who's going to take it? Mitchell squeezes through. What a stunning sprint between those riders. 70.5 kilometers an hour. Ethan Mitchell, 2-1. He congratulates Hugo Barrette, who will ride for the bronze medal. And Ethan Mitchell will be up against Jeffrey Hoogland. That will be an enticing sprint. The women's Madison about to come onto the track. 80 laps of the track. 8 sprints along the way. Very busy in that track centre. The local beers being served. Made here in Milton, and everyone enjoying themselves. The women's Madison getting organised up here on the track. There's Raquel Barbieri. And this is the start list. We'll guide you through who's riding for each team. "13 teams in total will be taking to the start of the women's Madison. The course has been introduced for the Olympic Games in Tokyo 2020. Plenty good music in the background at the moment in this arena. Those of you who are fans of dance music, Deadmau5 comes from here. Has a house in Milton. Very fast-growing area. Grown to a population of around 100,000. 5 years ago it was 30,000. Bit of a yawn from Canadian rider. Milton, though, was established in 1818 by Jasper Martin, who came from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. And Milton named after the English poet John Milton, if you'd like to know exactly how he got his name. Let's turn our attention then to the women's Madison. 80 laps of the track, 8 sprints, 20 kilometres of racing, and the pace always very, very high. As you know, in the Madison, you have the pairing at the top of the track, and the riders sling their riders into the action. Looks like Raquel Barbieri, though, has gone off very hard here. World champion in the scratch race. She's making a few legs hurt, trying to keep the pressure on, looking for her partner. Barbieri, a lot of people were surprised when she won the World Championships in the scratch race. I wasn't surprised at all. She'd been getting better and better results all the time. There's a Canadian pair. Swap over, Stephanie Rorder and Jasmine During. If you're trying to pick out the riders, they've got red and black numbers. So, on the front right now for Canada, in the red number is Jasmine During. And Stephanie Rorder wears the black number. Jasmine During, for those of you thinking I don't know the name of Jasmine During, she used to be Jasmine Glazer, of course. Bronze medalist twice in the Olympic Games. There she is on the front. 4 times a silver medalist in the World Championships. Rides for the Show Air 2020 team, run by Nicola Cranmer, who comes from the same city as me in England. Moved to California, set up her women's team, and is very well established indeed, and has some great riders. And in fact, both of these riders, Stephanie Rorder and Jasmine During, come from that Show Air 2020 team. So Stephanie Rorder on the front now, silver medalist in the World Championship team pursuit. Getting close to our first sprint. The Madison is all about points, so you need to score as many points as possible, and you do that by winning a sprint, when you get 5 points, 3 for second, 2 and 1. If you take a lap on the field, you get 20 points. So it's tactical, but it's all about the number of points that you finish on. That's it, nice and simple. Always keep your eye on the action at the bottom of the track, around that black and red line. The pairings at the top of the track are the ones who are resting or making their way down to be thrown into the action. First sprint then, and it's going to be a sprint between the New Zealanders. On the front then, Michaela Drummond attacks to go clear. Big move by Michaela Drummond of New Zealand. She's going to take the 5 points ahead of the Canadians in second. And it looks like it might have been the French team in third. And that would have been Laurie Burton. And Great Britain, I think, squeezed into fourth. There's confirmation on the screen. New Zealand with 5, Canada 3, France with 2, Great Britain with 1. Jasmine During setting the tempo again. Behind her is Ellie Dickinson. Dickinson throws Katie Archibald into the action. Notice the way that they put their hand behind their back almost, the rider who's coming into the change. They brace themselves on the handlebars and then they sling into the action. The women are getting better and better at this Madison all the time, considering it's just become an Olympic sport. There's got to be a lot of riders who've never ridden a Madison before, but now they are getting the hang of this very well indeed and learning quickly. I know that some of the teams have brought in some of the men's Madison riders to help the women learn quickly how to do the hand slings and how to race a Madison. But of course, everyone thinks they haven't done this before, but they learn their track craft in their various nations, and they've been doing this for a long time. But to get to world level and be world beaters, you just need that little bit more coaching. But you can tell already the pace of these Madisons is going up all the time. Rory Burton on the front. Silver medalist in the Omnium in the World Championships. And Laurie just setting a nice tempo. The New Zealand team going to the front again. And it looks like we have got Raquel Sheath going clear, the 23-year-old New Zealander. Trying to open up a little bit of a gap between her and the rest of the field with 2 laps to go. This is a good move by Raquel Sheath. Katie Archibald hunting her down. Archibald won the points race the other night. Archibald's been on superb form in races like the 6 days recently. Archibald now turns the pressure on. With her nose really low down, almost on the handlebar stem. And Archibald wins that sprint ahead of the French. Archibald comes into the handsling, throws Ellie Dickinson into the action. And I think confirmation on the screen then. Great Britain took 5, France 3, New Zealand 2 and Poland 1. Which should leave New Zealand at the top of the leaderboard. And it does. 1 point between them and Great Britain. France with 5, Canada still up there with 3 points. Katie Archibald yesterday morning looked like she was a dab hand at waffle making in the hotel we're staying in. Must be the food of champions. Waffles. I didn't see if she had the Canadian maple syrup. I'm pretty certain she'd have sneaked that onto it. Archibald looking here to win again. She's been one of the biggest winners of this winter season. She won in Manchester with Eleanor Barker that time. Eleanor Barker not here. And the Italians, Rachele Barbieri, won the bronze medal with her partner that time, Elisa Balsamo, the young Italian. But this time she's with Simona Frapporti. Frapporti has the red number on. She's just thrown Barbieri into the action. Those of you who follow women's road cycling, Simona Frapporti writes for the high-tech products team. Canada have decided they've had enough and they're going to try and break away. Oh, Katie Archibald and Ellie Dickinson had a little shaky moment in that handsling. Big move by Canada. Stephanie Rauder goes clear. Stretching this race. Looking, of course, for the 20 points that we were talking about. And a group of 4 riders going clear, 4 teams going clear. Canada, New Zealand, Great Britain and France. Another big move by the Canadians. Jasmine Doering opens up a big advantage here. Archibald getting thrown in by Ellie Dickinson. Trying to hunt them down. This is very fast. Jasmine Doering has really put the pressure on everyone here. Doering looks so quick, but the Canadians are extremely motivated by being on this Milton track. This is home for them. This is a Canadian cycling centre now. Canada take 5, Great Britain take 3, France take 2, and New Zealand take 1, which I think is going to see a shuffle at the top of the leaderboard. Great Britain now lead 9 points to Canada's 8, tied on points with New Zealand. this race is really stretched. There's some teams suffering in here now. Thanks for your messages. Ant McCrossan, Joan Hanscom, thank you very much for your message. I'm sure Joan will be keeping an eye on the American squads. The USA represented by Kimberly Geist and Kimberly Zubrist. Figured yet in the sprints. But the pressure kind of subsided a little bit now. Six teams in the lead, with the race coming back together. That huge turn of pace by Jasmine Doering has calmed down. Everyone's come back together. 44 laps to go. If you've just joined us, Great Britain lead with a 1-point advantage on Canada and New Zealand. Katie Archibald decides to go ahead again. Archibald done so much in such a short career. World champion in the Omnium, Olympic champion in the team pursuit. Throws Ellie Dickinson into the action, the bronze medalist in the Omnium. Ellie Dickinson, a future star in Great Britain. And now 1 lap to go to the sprint. Laurie Burton right on the wheel of Ellie Dickinson. Burton is a really good sprinter. Dickinson holding her off though, which is a very fast turn of pace. Looks like the Canadian team missed out on the sprint that time. So Great Britain getting the maximum points. Archibald and Coralie Demey now are in the lead. Sprint number 4, Britain 5, France 3, New Zealand took 2, and Mexico squeezed in there with 1 point. Sofia Arreola and Elizabeth Salazar. So Mexico now scores some points. Sofia Arreola, twice a silver medalist in the World Championships in the points race and the scratch race. I know Nancy, her sister, will be watching her. Salazar swings up, and now 4 teams are clear. France, New Zealand, Great Britain, and the Mexican squad there in the red. The Mexican team completely changed their kit. We got very used to seeing it in the green, the white and red. Now it's red predominantly. So if you're trying to pick them out, I'm finding it a little bit more difficult than normal, because it looks a little bit like the Danish kit and a little bit like Norway as well. And it looks like the race is coming back together. Great Britain lead with 14 points, France with 10, New Zealand with 10, Canada in 4th on 8, as Sofia Arreola goes to the front. If you'd like to ask any questions, Ant McCrossan is where you can join me on Twitter, and we'll answer any of your questions, any of the subjects you would like to talk about. Big attack then from the United States of America. This is Kimberly Zubrist going clear now as we head towards the 30 laps to go point. The American squad, all sorts of changes have gone on at USA Cycling, and it was nice yesterday to catch up with Jamie Staff, who's of course a former British sprinter, and he's now looking after the track program. A good, knowledgeable person to have in that American coaching setup. Jamie Staff, originally a BMX rider, but became a member of the team sprint. 31 laps to go. He knows his way around what happens in the Velodrome. So slowly but surely he'll pass on his knowledge, I'm sure, to these American riders. Big attack at the front. Yet again, a furious sprint between Great Britain and France now in the ascendancy in this race. Laurie Berton and Coralie Demey, two good riders for France, scoring some great points here. Great Britain take 5 again. Britain take the maximum, France take 3, USA score with 2 and New Zealand with 1. And we're wondering where the Canadian team are. They've suddenly disappeared from the sprints. .28 laps to go in the women's Madison. If you've just joined us, thanks for joining us for everything that's been happening on the track. We're bringing you the highlights and live action of the Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup here in Milton in Canada, one of the suburbs of Toronto. Big attack now going clear for Mexico. Elizabeth Salazar trying to break the grip of the Great Britain and French team on these sprints. Mexico could do with some points here. Archibald closes that one down. Coralie Demey is there. What's happened to the Canadian team? They were the riders who were dishing it out to everyone else in the early stages, but they look like they are starting to feel the tempo, unless they're going to try and take a lap.
Long reset.
Sofia Ariola on the front for Mexico. Good to see Sofia back in the World Cups. It's not always possible for the Mexicans to ride the European round, so the fact that we've got one here in Canada, and then of course we go to Santiago next weekend in Chile, and this is what the Canadians were going to do. They've decided to try and get the lap and go to the top of the leaderboard. So they've almost saved the legs, if that's at all possible. Now they put in a big attack. Well, that attack didn't really come to much. Archibald puts the pressure on. The Canadians are really suffering in here. They tried that one, but Great Britain score again. 20 laps to go.
Great Britain adds to their lead. That'll take them up to 24 points to France's 15. New Zealand 14.
Great Britain again score the maximum 5. New Zealand take 3, France with 2. The USA starting to score a little bit more consistently now. So Great Britain with 24, France with 15, New Zealand with 14, and Canada still up there in 4th place. They need to score some big points here. Canadians so close to the medal. Great Britain have a huge advantage. 9 points on the rest of the field now. Now, normally you'd expect Archibald and Barker would win a race like this. But to see Ali Dickinson, who's a really young rider, in here, helping Katie Archibald and riding so well, looks very, very comfortable. The first round in Pruszków in Poland was taken by Lotte Kopecky and Jolien Dora. Barker paired with Emily Nelson for Great Britain was 2nd, and Italy were 3rd with Confalonieri and Lisa Balsamo. The last time we were racing in the Madison for women, again it was Great Britain with Barker and Archibald. I think there's been a crash. 14 laps to go. The riders sliding off. None of the teams who are leading have been troubled.
There you go. Crash.
14 laps to go. On the front, Canada, setting the tempo. Dickinson slides into the line. 13 laps to go. Only 2 more sprints remain. I think it's Ariola who might have crashed for Mexico, but is about to rejoin the race. Just saw her at the top of the track. There's a missed handling then. 11 laps to go. Starting to get tired in here, these riders. Ellie Dickinson goes to the front, a massive turn of pace. Coralie DeMay, look at that handsling, absolutely flat out, trying to get on the wheel of the young British rider. Oh, very, very close. The French almost got that perfect. 1 lap to go, 1 more sprint to go, sorry. Archibald and Coralie DeMay now flat out at the front of this race, trying to go clear. These 2 riders sharing the tempo. It's getting tight for the medals for the silver and bronze. Great Britain, I think, have a lead that's pretty unassailable. Britain with 5, France with 3, Canada 2, New Zealand with 1. But the medals for silver and bronze still open. France now on 18, New Zealand on 15, Canada on 10, Great Britain on 29. Double points on the last sprint. But unless someone takes a lap, Great Britain cannot be beaten in this Madison. 7 laps to go. Thank you to all of you for watching. Pleasure to bring you this coverage of this Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup here in Milton in Canada. Hope you're enjoying the action. We're going to bring you lots of live action and some more recaps of what's been happening. But Dickinson and Archibald are 11 points ahead in this Madison right now and looking really very, very strong. One team going clear. It's like the Japanese team. Kajihara and Furuyama. Kajihara, you don't want to let her go. 4 laps to go, she's clear. She's trying to take 20 points. Archibald looking for a partner, Dickinson. Archibald always has that different coloured hair all the time. Now at the moment it seems to have settled on blue. Coralie DeMay going to the front now. And Kajihara and her teammate Furuyama are just ahead. I think they're going to run out of time. Polish team trying to get across as well. And that is Daria Pukulik. Trying to get on terms at the front of the race. Lots happening. 2 laps to go. Great Britain will have won this Madison. Very strong performance yet again by this British team. But they've mixed it up and still got medals every time. 1 lap to go. And the final sprint is going to be Japan. Second will be Poland, but Great Britain win the Madison. They will win. Canada will be just out of the medals, but it's a victory for Ellie Dickinson and Katie Archibald. Dickinson has already got a bronze, now she gets a gold. Archibald with 2 golds out of 2 races. Dickinson looking for confirmation of the result. She's just looking at the result board to see whether they're top of the leaderboard. The answer is there's no doubt about it. The final sprint, Japan took 10, France took 6. United States of America took 4 and Canada took 2. France closed right up on the Great Britain team, but still 5 points adrift at the end of that race. The average speed of that Madison was 50.7 kilometers an hour. That's incredibly fast. 23 minutes 39 seconds for 20 kilometers. Confirmation of the standings at the end. Great Britain win with 29, France with 24, New Zealand take the bronze with 15. Then it was Canada and Japan with that final sprint, moving themselves up into 5th place. Spain lost a lap. Hong Kong, China lost 2 laps. That's how it ended up. Thrills and spills in this race. This was the point of the crash of 2 teams going down. Touch of wheels in the change. Lots of sprints, hard fought between these nations to take the overall victory. But it's Archibald and Dickinson who win the Madison this time. Katie Archibald, such a fierce competitor. She won the Madison in Manchester with Eleanor Barker. Hollywood gives them a round of applause. All smiles from Katie Archibald. That was textbook racing. Turn our attention then to the men's sprint. We've got ourselves to the stage of the medals. And so we're going to see the first race in the bronze medal ride. Looking for the bronze medal then, Hugo Barrette of Canada. He's up against the young British rider Jack Carlin. Now the rules here are that Jack Carlin has to lead off, but he can go as slow as he wants to, as long as he stays in the front. Hugo Barrette can decide to go to the front, but it's unusual because, of course, the best position to be in is at the back. The element of surprise, the slipstream, the rider in front has got to constantly turn around. Carlin, after a period of time, can bring the race to a standstill and try and manoeuvre Hugo Barrette into the front position. And these riders will have predetermined what they're going to do. They'll have talked to their coaches in the track centre. They know what each rider is able to do. They'll decide whether to ride from a fast pace or whether to hold the sprint back and then jump hard. The rider's unable to accelerate quick and likes a long acceleration, then it can play into the hands if you get the tactic right. 2 laps to go. The bell now as Barrette goes shoulder to shoulder. Oh, he's unable to go with the acceleration of Carlin. Don't know what happened to Barrette there, but Carlin has raced through to take that one. 68.8 kilometers an hour. And Hugo Barrette just had no answer. Well, that was unusual. And the crowd, as you would expect, dead quiet. I don't know what happened to Hugo Barrette then. He just didn't seem to have any response at all. Race number 1 in the sprint finals for the gold medal. Jeffrey Hoogland, the European sprint champion a couple of years ago, up against this man, Ethan Mitchell of New Zealand. Two powerful sprinters. You'll notice there Hoogland with the big straps over those shoes to keep the pedals, the feet clipped into the pedals. Then they put the straps over the top to strap them in even tighter, because these two riders put so much power through those pedals that you have to just keep them actually in there in the first place. Jeffrey Hoogland up against Ethan Mitchell. Hoogland leads off. Very long socks. The idea is the more you cover the skin, the more aerodynamic advantage you have, so they leave as little skin showing as possible. So much work has been done in wind tunnels to just try and find out the best combinations, different materials to use on those aero suits. Hoogland staying down on the Côte d'Azur, the blue area at the bottom of the track. The next line up is the black line. That's the gauge line. That measures the length of the track. 250 meters will be exact around that black line. The red is the sprinter's line that we keep an eye on in these competitions. And the blue line is the stayers line, where we used to have traditionally the big motorbikes on, but we don't really see that on the tracks anymore, but it's still there. It's also used as a little bit of guide sometimes, the Madison, so that riders stay above it. Hoogland starts to accelerate then. Ethan Mitchell trying to get into the slipstream so he can drag race around the outside. Hoogland likes to open up with a fast sprint nice and early. Ethan Mitchell now trying to challenge, but it looks like it's going to be Jeffrey Hoogland who wins. 1-0 to him. Average speed of that sprint, 70.985 kilometers an hour over the last 200 meters of racing. 10.143 seconds to cover that last 200 meters. And Ethan Mitchell is going to have to do some fairly substantial thinking about how he could beat Jeffrey Hoogland now. We'll come back to the men's sprint in a while. These riders will be going back into the track centre to recover, to work out what to do next. And the next race we're going to bring you is the men's elimination in the Omnium competition. Lots of discussions going on there in the middle of the track. The men's elimination then has reached the third race. This is the situation. Gail Suter of Switzerland is the leader, ahead of Ollie Wood of Great Britain. Christos Volikakis is in 3rd place, and Larsen, surprisingly, is in 4th, because Larsen has been the rider who has dominated the men's Omnium more recently. There is Larsen wearing number 5. The men's Omnium, Larsen won in Pruszków in Poland. He was then 2nd in the men's Omnium to Ben Thomas of France when we were in Manchester. But not having it all his own way this time. As things stand, he's in 4th place. He's got 62 points, in fact equal 3rd with Volikakis on points. Stajanowski of Poland is in 5th place. Roman Gladish in 6th for the Ukraine. But there's our leader, Gail Suter. Gail Suter, an interesting rider. He works at the UCI in Aigle in Switzerland. He comes from Aigle in Switzerland. And he's got the perfect lunchtime training venue of the 200-metre track in the reception area of the UCI headquarters down there in Switzerland. So perfect to be able to train. Well, there's our orange box, which gives the flashing light to the rider who's been eliminated. And we will count down the eliminations all the way through until we have 2 riders left on the track. After this, 1 race left in the men's Omnium, and that will be the points race. Quite a ferocious blow on the whistle. It's like the 10:20 train about to leave. Hollywood on the front. Larsen goes. The Japanese rider goes to the front now. Tactics in an elimination, always interesting. Some riders like to ride at the front, staying out of trouble. Other riders like to ride a little bit more mercenary at the back. And I think there's a problem here for the Italian rider, Giordani, who joins into the peloton. Oops, and now the race is underway. So the rider at the back of the race is eliminated each time. You'll hear the bell, and then we get a rider eliminated next time. All the action happens at the back. One of the riders trying to get through. Looked like Lung Chung Wing. And the final rider taken out of the action. Looks like it was Hong Kong China in the blue. Number 15 is eliminated that time. There he is. He was in all sorts of difficulty. Lung Chung Wing is out. The rider's then swinging around at the back. It's a Canadian rider who's in a little bit of trouble now. Hayden Caves. And he's going to be eliminated if he's not careful. Very close, yep. Hayden Caves is taken out of the action. There he is, wearing number 2. Hayden Caves is out. Eliminated from the race. And who's in trouble now? Looks like the French rider. And that's Morgan Niesky. Morgan Niesky is a very good rider. I don't believe he's going to be eliminated so early here. Trying to find his way through, but there's so much traffic. Looks like the rider from Kazakhstan in the turquoise and yellow. Oh, that was very close. It was the Mexican in red, number 24. Ignacio Prado is out of the race. 24-year-old rider. National time trial champion of Mexico. The rider in white now in difficulty. And that is the Korean rider, Sang-Hoon Park. But the Kazakhstan rider also in a little bit of trouble now. In the blue and yellow. Let's see whether he can squeeze through. Not sure he can. So the Kazakhstan rider is taken out. Assokan Tarar is removed from the race. So you get the idea then. The bell goes. Next time round, a rider is taken out. It's like the Ukrainian rider. He suddenly looked round and thought, there must be someone behind me, Roman Gladish. And he's going to put the Italian rider, Giordani, into a little bit of difficulty. And it looks like the Italian is removed from the race. Number 70.
Italy has been eliminated. Number 17, Italy.
So our peloton is diminishing in numbers. The rider's in trouble now in white from Korea. Number 7 also in some trouble. This is going to be close. Maybe the Polish rider in the red and white is going to be taken out. Oh, they're very, very close on the line. And I think it's the Korean in the white. Finally he goes. Sang-Hoon Park, 24-year-old rider. Sang-Hoon Park is out. Morgan Niski again in trouble in the blue of France. Danish rider, Nicholas Larsson, doesn't seem to be on form today. This looks like he's struggling. And it could be Ollie Wood is about to be taken out. That would be very bad news for the British rider, but the Ukrainian also is taken out this time. So the Ukrainian goes in the blue and yellow. Roman Gladish. Now, bearing in mind, you need to score lots of points. Gail Suter in the red and white at the back is not where he needs to be. He's been the leader of this Omnium, so he needs to go past and put the Polish rider in difficulty. A little bit of bumping and barging going on. Gail Suter squeezes through, and it's the Polish rider. I think he's going to be... Oh, no. I think it was the rider on the inside in the red and white, the Japanese rider. There he is. The Japanese rider is taken out. Shunsuke Imamura. Bell goes again. Gail Suter has to do something about this. Doesn't want to be sitting at the back. Looks like the rider in red and yellow from Spain is the one who's in all sorts of trouble. So is Morgan Niski of France. And this time it's going to be Morgan Niski, I think. Number 9. Oh, in fact, they've made another decision, and it's Maximilian Bayer of Germany. The German rider is taken out. Maximilian Bayer. So Niski saved himself just. Nicholas Larsson at the back, so is Niski. The bell's gone again. Niski trying to get back in there. It's like those legs are hurting. And Niski says, no, I've had enough.
We have just been told that number 14, Christos Volkakis, you are eliminated for pushing your opponent. Eliminated.
Whoops. The decision of the judges. Volkakis has been removed for pushing his opponents in the race. Well, he's an ex-Keirin rider. So he has been taken out of the race, Volkakis. And Niski's also been eliminated. But I think Niski will be taken out this time. Maybe. Yeah. So the entire peloton stay in because Niski had already dropped off. They have to get him out. And so now it's down to the riders in this little group here. 7 riders left on the back. It's number 29 who's feeling the tempo, Stasnowski, and his legs have given out. So Stasnowski of Poland is removed.
Number 29.
6 riders remain.
Number 29, Poland.
We will go down to the last 2 riders. And it's the Spanish rider, Suazu Biscaya, who is trying to stay in here. Gail Suter looks around, the Swiss rider who leads this Omnium. He needs to score more points. It's a big sprint. Suter looks like he's okay, and it's all right on the line. I think the Spanish rider, number 7, is removed. Only a few riders left now. 5 riders left in the race. Don't forget you can join me on Twitter at @McCrossan, at UCI_cycling as well. Follow that. Hollywood on the front. Larsen looks like he's recovered a little bit. The rider who's in trouble is the Belgian rider, Lindsay de Wilde, who won the Madison, wearing number 1. And de Wilde is taken out of the action.
Number 1, Belgium has been eliminated. Number 1, Belgium.
He's had a good weekend. Down to the last 4 now. So who have we got left in? Ollie Wood on the front for Great Britain. Campbell Stewart of New Zealand in the black. Gail Suter of Switzerland and Nicholas Larsen of Denmark. Larsen trying to get Suter taken out of the race. Larsen and Suter sprinting hard. Oh, Ollie Wood of Great Britain. I think number 11, Ollie Wood of Great Britain, removed from the race. It's going to be very tight at the top of this race now between Ollie Wood and Gail Suter. And Campbell Stewart is moving up now. 3 riders left. We'll go down to the last 2. Larsen, despite looking like he's suffering, is somehow holding on. Oh, and Gail Suter is taken out. Finishes 3rd. So Gail Suter has now scored 112 points. 2 riders left. Larsen in the red and white. In the black, the New Zealander, Campbell Stewart. Who's going to win this? Larsen has been the favourite of the Omnium recently, but Campbell Stewart's not going to let him have it all his own way. A drag race between the 2 riders, but Larsen finally scores maximum points. Fantastic performance by him. He looked like he was suffering all the way through, but still comes out to win. Fantastic racing. Larsen wins the elimination race. Here's the replay then. Larsen went on the inside. The New Zealander, Campbell Stewart, tried to challenge, but Nicholas Larsen just had too much speed in those legs. Great racing here in Milton. And a little bit of review after the race between those 2 riders. Nicholas Larsen then will be now in the top 3 in this Omnium competition. Gail Suter will maintain his lead. Ollie Wood will be in 2nd, and Campbell Stewart, with that performance, now in 4th. Disappointment for Velodrome, the ex-Keirin rider, now in 5th, but was eliminated a lot earlier than he wanted to be. There's our standings. Gail Suter leads 4 points his advantage on Ollie Wood. Nicholas Larsen 10 points behind Campbell Stewart. Velodrome, Stasinowski lining up behind.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second round of the Madison Sprints bronze medal final. Mesdames et messieurs, voici la deuxième course.
The average speed of that elimination was 50.8 kilometers an hour. Covered it in just under 10 minutes. Back up on the track then. for the bronze medal ride between Jack Carlin of Great Britain and Hugo Barrette of Canada. Barrette didn't seem to challenge. I don't know whether he's got an injury or something's gone on. Jack Carlin up on the track then. Hugo Barrette will need to bring this to a decider to get the crowd going. Hugo Barrette on the front, Jack Carlin second place, just hanging back a little bit, but Barrette is not going steady. He wants to race this one by the looks of things. Coming round, 2 laps of racing to go. Carlin will not want this to go to a decider. He wants to just take the gold medal and get home. Hugo Barrette wants to make sure that Carlin has to fight for this. Barrette goes to the front. He's going to use that speed on the track. He knows the board so well here in Milton. Barrette turning the pressure up. Carlin coming back at him now. They're going to go shoulder to shoulder. Is Barrette going to do it? Carlin takes it. Oh, so close. Hugo Barrette loses out to Carlin for the bronze medal. So Jack Carlin, the 20-year-old British rider, takes the bronze medal against the home rider. Disappointment for Hugo Barrette. He's had a great round of competition. Just didn't have the legs at the last to take the medal. Thanks to all of you for watching. At @McCrossney is my Twitter if you'd like to ask any questions. Lots more racing to come. Not long until we see the women's Keirin. But first of all, we've got this gold medal ride-off. Remember, Jeffrey Hoogland is 1-0 up against Ethan Mitchell. Jeffrey Hoogland at the top of the track, Ethan Mitchell in the black at the bottom of the track, more inside. There's that chalk we were talking about on the hands to keep a nice grip on those handlebars that just have carbon fibre, a little bit of roughage on the end so he can hold on. Surprisingly, doesn't wear mitts or some long gloves. Sprinters now using much narrower bars. It was kind of a fashion started by the likes of Sir Chris Hoy, who put narrower bars on so that you reduce the amount of drag. Thinking previously was you had wide bars that were as wide as your shoulders, so you opened up the rib cage so you could breathe, but it's actually been proven it doesn't really matter, that the aerodynamic advantage is much better if you just put these narrow bars on. And they've got some of them, as you can see, the design where they slice through the air. Hoogland in the orange, 1-0 up, right there on the inside. That was okay as a manoeuvre. Just in the final lap, it's all about who dives inside that red line first. Hoogland goes high. He's going to use the banking almost like a hill, so he uses the descent to get some speed. But Mitchell has, oh, look at that, a little bit of bumping and barging going on. You're not allowed to take your hands off the bars, but Jeffrey Hoogland is just going to drive away to take the win. Hugo wins 2-0 against Ethan Mitchell. It was a fair sprint between the two of them. They did go shoulder to shoulder at about 70k an hour. Here we go. Hugo races through to take the win. He takes the gold medal, 2-0. Well, Jeffrey Hoogland will be very, very pleased with that gold medal. You have to have some nerve, don't you, to be riding flat out on these boards and go shoulder to shoulder, lean on each other and still be okay. The Derny bike is out on the track now. This is for the women's Keirin. This is the second round. The first 3 riders in each heat will qualify for the final, and the other riders will go through to fight out for the 7th to 12th places. Jan van Eyden just giving Katie Marchand a little bit of instruction. Next on the track, Christina Vogel of Germany. Alongside from Japan, Keiono Maeda. Alongside, riding for the Czech Republic, Sara Kankowska. And the Korean rider, this is Lee Hai-jin, in the Keirin in Rio. Just wondering where the American rider is. We were expecting Mandy Marquardt also in the group. Derny bike gets going. American rider right at the bottom of the track, actually. So all 6 riders are here. Mandy Marquardt, interesting rider, rides with type 1 diabetes, a 26-year-old rider, bronze medalist in the Pan American team sprint. Rides for, linked to Team Novo Nordisk, which is a road team for men that spreads the word that you can ride with diabetes across the world. Very interesting squad indeed. Mandy Marquardt is the same. You'll notice on her bike it says riding with diabetes. There's number 210 there at the front. Keirin race. Just along her top tube you can see in the white writing. 4 laps to go, 6 laps of racing. The motorbike stays on the front until 3 laps to go now. Keirin format has changed between the Rio Olympics and the Tokyo Olympics. Used to be 8 laps with the Derny bike peeling off 2.5 laps from the end. Marquardt's got a little bit of a gap here between her and the rest of the riders, and now she's got to make a decision. Does she carry on? Does she wait for Vogel to pounce? She's got to do something. She might as well go. She's at the front. Vogel is closing in. The world champion, Marchant right on the wheel. Oh! And Marquardt crashes, having been at the front. Vogel now challenging. Vogel goes to the front. Marchant sitting in the wheels. And it's going to be Vogel who goes through safely. Mandy Marquardt, I don't know what happened there, but she crashed, having been caught by the peloton. Vogel was ahead then, I think, of the rider from the Czech Republic, Sara Kankowska, and Katie Marchant. Just take a look at what happened here. Marquardt was on the front, and the Korean rider touched her as she went past and took her out. I think the commissaires might have something to say about that. That was a pretty hefty crash. Well, I don't know, though. Having looked at that angle, it tells you a different story, doesn't it? Marquardt going up the track and the Korean coming down. So it might be that the judges won't say anything about that now. Christina Vogel safely through. Sara Kankowska also with Katie Marchant, the third qualifier. Vogel made that one look very, very simple. And our track repairer is out. A little bit more work to be done here. A few gouges on the track, just protecting it, making sure there's no splinters as we see the 5 riders taken to the track. Should be 6, so see who's not taken to the track yet, but at the top there from Canada, Amelia Walsh. Amelia Walsh was a BMX rider. Now turned her attention to track racing. Alongside her, Shanna Braspanic's a 26-year-old rider, silver medalist in the World Championships. The Japanese rider, Yuka Kobayashi. The New Zealander, Natasha Hansen, was a former attendee of the UCI Sprint School in Aigle in Switzerland. Bao Shanju, riding for the Holy Brother team. And at the bottom of the track for Mexico was Daniela Gattiola. Tweet of the day from Peter, is that Brad Wiggins on the Derny bike? I think Brad's beard's even better than that right now. These riders underway, 6 laps of the track. Patrick, you've said this is the first season you've been watching track cycling. What size gears do they have on? Huge, absolutely huge size gears, and they vary quite considerably. If you look at Natasha Hansen, for example, the size of the front chainring she's riding in this Keirin compared to the other riders is significant. Look at the size, it's almost like a dinner plate. So the riders ride the ratios depending on how their legs feel and how much power they can put out. But you just look at that gear ratio of Natasha Hansen, riding a much bigger front chainring. The thought is that there's less resistance by riding such a big chainring, and it's a thinking of the Great Britain team as well that the New Zealanders have adopted. 3 laps to go. on the front Gathiola of Mexico. Hansen challenging on the outside. Hansen, an interesting character, a trained air traffic controller. Goes to the front, manoeuvres with ease into the front now. Shanna Braspanix is on the wheel and trying to get through the Mexican rider. Moving up on the outside is the Holy Brother rider, Bao Shanzhu, in the red and white. 1 lap to go. Hansen has been looking good in this competition here in Canada. She goes to the front, accelerates now. The Mexican rider trying to challenge. Hansen still has the lead. 3 riders will qualify. And the race has been neutralised because there's a crash. And 2 riders are down. And 1 rider's had a very hefty fall. Yep, the Japanese rider there. That was a very nasty crash then. Bao Shanzhu just waiting for some medical attention. They will neutralise the race. Here's what happened. Ooh, that Japanese rider just crashed, touching a wheel. Yep, and the Holy Brother rider immediately hitting the deck so hard. Well, she's with the paramedics, who are always very, very quickly onto the scene. I think it might be a little bit of time. They won't move her because she really did hit the track very, very hard indeed. This is what happened. The Japanese rider touched the wheel of Shanna Braspanix and immediately, unfortunately, Bao Shanzhu had nowhere to go. Oh, she's taken a very hefty fall, and the paramedics are with her, and they've taken her helmet off now, which is always a good sign. The paramedics immediately in the track centre will have all the equipment they need to safely put her onto a stretcher. But I think it's the fact that she didn't expect there was going to be a crash. Sometimes you see the crash happening and you can do something about it. This time, literally, the Japanese rider came broadside into her, so she wasn't able to do anything at all to right herself. The news of the other riders is that once we know that Bao Shanzhu is okay and she's on a stretcher and she is moving and she's not far away from where I am, then the race will be run with 4 riders. The paramedics won't move her at all until she feels that she is okay, and in fact now she's lying on her back, so she's moved. I think Bao Shanzhu is just in an awful lot of pain after that crash, and the paramedics are just waiting for the stretcher to come out on the track. They won't move her at all. They'll have to bring the stretcher to her just because she hit the deck in such a way with her back and neck, and they won't take any risks at all with her. She certainly won't get up. They will look after her and make sure she's okay. So far then, Christina Vogel has managed to qualify with Sarah Kankowska, Katie Marchant. We've actually not had that many crashes here on this track over the last few days. And those riders now just have to focus and keep themselves warm, because they will come back out on the track. We're putting Bao Shanju onto a stretcher. She is moving around. She's talking to the paramedics. And the doctors will just make sure that they don't cause any more injury. So they'll slide the stretcher under her, get her onto it, and then they'll move her. The Japanese rider is okay. And that's Yuka Kobayashi. That touch of wheels, and she had nowhere to go. Bao Shanju is now on the stretcher and is about to be moved and taken away to be looked after by the paramedics. On these sort of tracks, the pace is so high, the margin of error is tiny, and these riders more often than not don't crash, but now and then you do get a pretty hefty one like that. So she's on the stretcher, and they're going to move her out of the velodrome. They've put a neck brace on her to make sure her neck is okay. And there is an ambulance just a few hundred meters away, just at the back door of the velodrome, that is always sitting there to look after her. The racing that's going to be coming up, we will have the rerun of that race with 4 riders left, so 1 rider will be eliminated for the final. And then we're going to show you some recaps of the men's Keirin from yesterday, the women's sprint. We'll have the completion of the men's Omnium and the women's Keirin, as you know. And then the women's team pursuit, we'll show you some highlights from that before the end of today's action. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us. Thanks for the messages. If you'd like to message anything, at Ant McCrossan is where you can tweet in. And don't forget always to follow at UCI_cycling. That's where you can keep up to date with all the news of the Track World Cups. And if you're fans of other cycling disciplines, you can also keep up to date with all the action as well, of cyclocross and road and everything else. Miriam Velter. And the medical team, they're here for the entire competition. Sometimes they have absolutely nothing to do. But it's moments like this that we know just how important it is that they're here in the track. She has been talking all the time to the paramedics. The track has been repaired, and Bao Shanju will go into the base of the track and out into the ambulance, and we will also turn our attention to the next race. Well, I think we're going to bring the Keirin back onto the track with 4 riders. Luz Gacciola was just wandering around then.
Please have the ladies of Keirin Rerun to back to the track, please. Riders in our heat number 2 of our ladies and Keirin, please back to the track.
We're going to bring the race back on the track then. Amelia Walsh walking onto the track. The Derny bike is back. We've certainly moved on from having electric Derny bikes for a little while. Now we've got full-blown motorbikes going around the track. So as you were asking, it's not Brad Wiggins on here, it's David Jack who's riding the motorbike. There he is. And the riders making their way out to compete again to get themselves into the final. Now sometimes a Keirin with 4 riders can be very, very difficult because you have more room on the track. More things can happen as Natasha Hansen does up her straps on her shoes. Started off as a netballer and decided to take up cycling with very good effect. Amelia Walsh, the BMX rider, turned track rider, a little bit like Sinead Reid of Great Britain, one of the more famous turns from BMX to track racing, as well as the likes of Jamie Staff. Luz Daniela Gacciola. A bit intricate in terms of doing her shoe straps up. A few people might say something about the aerodynamics of the way those shoes are done up, but anyway. And we're now getting the race underway. Mexican rider and the New Zealander, both without any mitts on at all in this Keirin. 4 riders, 6 laps of the track. The bike pulls off with 3 laps to go. Doug, you're right. Natasha Hansen looks like she's got a pizza pan on for a chainring. It's pretty huge. Now the pace gets wound up to around about 45, 50k an hour, and then the bike then peels off. One rider will go through to the 7th to 12th place ride-off, and the rest will go through to the final. Gacciola on the back wheel of the bike. Hansen just hanging back a little bit. She'll leave a gap between the back wheel of her and the rider on the back of the Derny. And the reason she does that, she uses the drag into the back wheel to accelerate. It's a clever tactic, a little bit like slipstream in a Formula 1 car. Gacciola on the front, Hansen, Raspanics and Walsh. Who's going to be taken out this time of the race for the gold medal? One rider will be eliminated. Amelia Walsh now makes her move. Accelerating hard, Raspanics goes through. Hansen quite happy just to sit there in the wheels. Gacciola trying to challenge. Amelia Walsh now on the front. They go shoulder to shoulder at the front. Amelia Walsh is closed off. Braspanic shouting. Hansen trying to make a move round the top. Trying to use a little bit less energy than everyone else. Amelia Walsh is eliminated. Braspanic was talking all the time in that race. And Natasha Hansen used hardly any energy by the looks of things just to squeeze past and go into the final. So the three riders will be Gattiola, Braspanic and Hansen. Amelia Walsh will ride for the 7th, 12th place. The final then will be Vogel, Kankowska, Marchant, Maeda. Sorry, Kankowska, Marchant, Vogel, Hansen and Braspanic. Let's turn our attention then to the men's Keirin. And this was the second round of the men's Keirin. On the front, Francois Purvis. On his wheel, Luis Oliva, the British champion. Making his move on the outside is Harry Lavraisen. Harry Lavraisen going to the front. Purvis trying to challenge. Lavraisen looking very, very quick indeed. Andrei Vinokurov of the Ukraine in the blue and yellow colours. Purvis still looking good. This was for qualification. Lavraisen wins. Purvis in second, Luis Oliva in third place. And they qualified for the final, for the gold medal ride-off. Heat number 2. Joachim Eilers in there in the green, with the green socks, the trademark of Joachim Eilers. Hugo Barrette also in here for Canada. Big attack at the front, going clear. Yuto Akimoto. Hugo Barrette in second place. Eilers is still there. Big move by the Japanese rider. Hugo Barrette going to the front, pleasing the Canadian crowd. Joachim Eilers on the outside. Very close sprint. Eilers takes it. Joachim Eilers goes through to the final with Wakimoto and Hugo Barrette. The men's Keirin finals, the places 7th to 12th. Joe Truman of Great Britain on the Derny Bikes wheel. Savunas Jonauskas of Lithuania in the yellow and green on his wheel. The Japanese rider, Yudai Nitta. Joe Truman looking to try and get the 7th place here. Making a move on the outside, Pavel Kelman in the colours of the Czech Republic, but Vinokurov is the Ukrainian rider who accelerates. Pavel Kelman immediately onto his wheel. Kawabata also up there. But the Ukrainian rider looking strong. Vinokurov in the yellow and blue goes to the front. Pavel Kelman trying to get in contact. Joe Truman doesn't have the legs today. Vinokurov looking very quick. He takes it. Vinokurov takes 7th place. The men's Keirin final between Barrette, Purvis, Eilers, Wakimoto, Lavraisen and Luis Oliva. There is Francois Purvis. Loves some competition, does Purvis. The crowd love him. This is Wakimoto. Luis Oliva. Daniel, thanks for your message. Daniel Apoku. The motorbike is electric. There's Harry Rerun. It doesn't look like an electric motorbike, does it? There's Wacky Milers. Although I've not heard it make any noise, so I guess it is electric. So Daniel, thanks for your message. Dave Brodman would rather it was a Harley. A bit more laid back kind of approach to Derny pacing. This is the Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup from Milton in Canada. This is the Keirin final of men. Lucky Milers with his green socks and his green helmet. Little trick green bits on the bike as well. There he is. In the orange, Harry Rerun. Wakimoto of Japan. Pervis, Hugo Barrette. Luis Oliva's looked good in this Keirin rounds as well. Hasn't been on top form in the rounds of the World Cup so far. Luis Oliva, medical student, training to be a doctor. Loves Keirin racing. Will be riding for Wales in the Commonwealth Games, which are in Australia, coming up in April time. 4 laps to go. Wacky Milers looking good. Just keeping really low out the front. The bike peels off. Eilers goes to the front. Rerun hanging back a little bit. Luis Oliva in 3rd place. Harry Rerun constantly looking around. Oliva fancies this one, so does the Japanese rider Yuta Makamoto. Rerun and Wacky Milers on the front. Eilers with a big acceleration. Rerun going shoulder to shoulder. 1 lap to go. Rerun trying to get the ascendancy, trying to go to the front here ahead of Wacky Milers. Luis Oliva challenging on the outside. Rerun turns up the tempo a little bit more. Rerun looking good. He takes it ahead of Luis Oliva and Wacky Milers in 3rd place. Great Keirin by Harry Rerun. He takes it. Oliva 2nd. Eilers in 3rd place.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez acclamer les médaillés.
This is only my 2nd World Cup riding in Keirin, but I felt strong. Also in the semi-final, I could go very long, so I was waiting a little bit in the final, but then I saw now I need to go, and I went, and yeah, I could go through the finish.
Let's take a look then at the women's sprint. This is the semi-finals. Christina Vogel up against Laurien van Riesen. Van Riesen, a speed skater turned cyclist. Vogel going to the front. Vogel is just unbeatable right now. Absolutely stunning right now. Christina Vogel wins heat number 1, and you just have to wonder how she can be beaten. This is Shanna Braspanix up against Natasha Hansen. Braspanix trying to get through to the final to go head-to-head, probably against Christina Vogel. Hansen challenging, always fast in qualification. He's getting closer and closer to winning. Shanna Braspanix 1-0 up against Hansen. Laurien van Riesen trying to use a different tactic here against Vogel. Just see the cadence though of Vogel. She just seems to have that extra gear compared to everyone else. Vogel's going to win 2-0, and Van Riesen will ride for the bronze medal. The world champion is on absolutely top form. Hansen trying to bring this one back to a decider, goes high up on the banking, trying to get a little bit more speed. But Braspanic's looking very, very good. Hansen trying to find a little bit more speed to go alongside Braspanic's, but 2-0 to Braspanic's, leaving the final as Vogel against Braspanic's. The bronze medal ride-off between Van Riesen and Hansen. Lorien Van Riesen, an Olympian in the speed skating discipline. Her dream, of course, to win a medal in both Winter and Summer Olympic Games. 1-0 to her in the first race. Race number 1 for the gold. Vogel against Braspanic's. How do you work your tactics out to beat this rider? Notice on Christina Vogel, quite a lot of scarring on her face. And that comes from a few years ago. Christina was hit by a minibus and shouldn't really even be walking, never alone being a world champion on a bike. She was absolutely smashed riding her bike by that minibus, and she's battled back, which is why she is such a bubbly character off the bike. She absolutely lives for the day. Christina Vogel trying to beat Shannon Braspanic's here to win another gold medal. Braspanic's on the front, Vogel going alongside in the rainbow bands as a world champion. And now the acceleration, the fast leg speed, and there is literally no answer. Vogel wins 1-0 to her. This is race number 2 in the final for the bronze medal. Lorien Van Riesen in orange, Natasha Hansen in the black of New Zealand. And Hansen trying some different tactics here. A little bit more speed. Van Riesen trying to come back. Hansen, with that huge gear on the bike, manages to win and take it to a decider. So close between the two riders, but Hansen just takes the verdict. The second ride in the women's sprint. Vogel going almost to a standstill. Van Riesen keeping an eye on her. Vogel kicking that back wheel so well. But Van Riesen trying to outwit the German. Van Riesen puts in a big, big acceleration. Vogel having to work hard to get back on terms. Van Riesen looking good. Vogel though, oh, Van Riesen makes a little bit of a mistake there. Or maybe she wanted Vogel in the front. Vogel quite happy to lead here. Now she puts on the tempo. Van Riesen right in the slipstream. She's trying something a little bit different here to beat Vogel, but she just doesn't have the pace. Vogel wins. She takes the gold medal. 2-0 to Christina Vogel. Great sprinting, good tactics, but Vogel is just so quick. Can Van Riesen then beat Hansen? Shanna Brandt-Spanix takes the silver, Vogel takes the gold. Hansen against Van Riesen, they're 1-1 now.
The margins of wins have been so close between these two. 3/100ths of a second.
Van Riesen, you may remember in Rio, ended up riding the wall at the top of the track on one occasion. Her bike handling is absolutely incredible. Van Riesen on the front. Hansen trying to get on terms. Big sprint now. Who's going to take the bronze? It's going to be really, really close. And Van Riesen takes the bronze. So the Dutch riders take silver and bronze. Vogel of Germany takes the gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez acclamer vos médaillés.
I will make a week holiday, so it's not long ago for Christmas. I have to decorate my house for Christmas and prepared. No, but then we are going for Cape Town in January, so it's always a good camp. So yeah, hopefully I get my Zoom bag, yeah, in Velodrome.
Christina Vogel, the winner of the women's sprint. And we're getting ready then for the men's Omnium, the points race, the final race of this 4-race series. The leader at the moment, Gail Suter, with a 4-point advantage on Ollie Wood. Nicholas Larsson in 3rd place with 102. So it's still anyone's race. The points race, of course, is 40 laps. There will be 20 points for gaining a lap. In fact, it's not 40 laps, sorry, 100 laps. 25 kilometers of racing. Very long race indeed. But it goes quickly. 20 points if you gain a lap. Sprints along the way. And the points go 5, 3, 2 and 1. So Gail Suter really has to concentrate here to try and win this Omnium competition. At the moment then, Suter leads. Ollie Wood of Britain 2nd, Nicholas Larsson of Denmark in 3rd. Then we have Stewart of New Zealand, Volikakis of Greece. Volikakis making this interesting transition from being a Keirin rider to riding endurance racing. He maybe hasn't got the endurance yet, but once he does, then that sprint speed is going to work really, really well. Gail Suter has to keep an eye on everyone. Going on the attack then, immediately. Morgan Niesky. Niesky not having the best round of racing here. He's way down with 52 points. But Niesky is a very good Madison rider. And if he can take a lap, he can make his way up to the top of the leaderboard very quick. Niesky has a little bit of an advantage now. With himself nice and relaxed on the bike. The hands, of course there's no brake levers on these bikes because the bikes are fixed gears. So his hands just rested where the brake levers would normally be. Trying to keep as lower frontal area as possible. Niski does tend to ride, though, on the tops like this, as opposed to having his hands on the dropped handlebar bit. It's very comfortable riding like that. And if Niski can take a lap here, then he will move significantly up. Currently, he's got some work to do, but if this puts him on 72 points, he'll leapfrog a few riders. No one seems too worried, but we're not far from the first sprint. And ideally, Niski needs to get on now. The bell happens for Morgan Niski. He's almost in the same straight as the rest of the peloton. And Morgan Niski, who's a multiple world champion, rode for Team Rally in Great Britain for a few years. And it looks like Niski's going to he takes the points, and rider Volikakis is trying to score as many points as possible early on. Confirmation of sprint number 1. Morgan Niski took the 5 points, Bayer took 3, Volikakis 2, and De Wilde took 1 point. Which means the Omnium standings overall haven't really changed significantly, but there we are, Gelsuter leads. Niski's given up on trying to take his lap. Gelsuter still at the top of the leaderboard, 112. Niski has only moved himself up to 57 points. And now we're seeing another little acceleration off the front of the race as we see the Japanese rider going clear. That's Shinsuke Imamura. We're at number 19. But his time in the lead is over. This peloton don't seem to want to let anyone go clear. On the front now, the Belgian rider in the turquoise, he swings up, and Nicholas Larsen does as well. The Norwegian rider goes clear. The Mexican rider, sorry, goes clear. And that's Ignacio Prado, national time trial champion. Silver medalist in the World Championship scratch race, immediately joined by number 22 there, Sang-Hoon Park. And another rider goes across, and that is Lung Chung Wing. But things settle down a little bit. Asukan Turar rides for Kazakhstan. Just set a little bit of pace. The riders at the moment are just doing what they need to do to not cause any disruption within the group. So they're doing a bit of work, swinging up, nice and easy. That means that no one's going to give them any grief if they go on the attack. The bell goes again. 81 laps to go. This is the second sprint. Hollywood is up there, so is Nicholas Larsen. So they've caught Gelsuter napping here. And Gelsuter could well see his lead now being taken, and it does, because Hollywood has just scored 5 points, which puts him at the top of the leaderboard. Big attack then by the Polish rider. Confirmation that Hollywood has scored 5 points, De Wilde 3, Larsen 2, and Volikakis takes another point, which means that Gelsuter needs to start to accumulate some points. Hollywood of Britain at the top, Suter of Switzerland second, Larsen in third, and Volikakis in fourth place. 2 riders now at the front of the race. And the Polish rider goes clear, Stanzanowski, and he's with the New Zealander, Campbell Stewart. Don't forget, if you want to ask any questions about the tactics or what's going on, at @McCrossan is where you can join me. And at the same time, give that UCI_cycling a little bit of a follow as well. Things have all come back together again. Larson setting the tempo on the front. El Suter has arrived back at the front of the race. He's just realised that he is now losing this Omnium competition after leading it. And the riders have got a big scoreboard at one end of the arena. You can just see them going under it now. And Gail Suter will keep an eye on that now and work things out, try and come back to the lead. Hollywood seems to be looking around within this group, marshalling things. He's got himself where he wanted to be. You noticed him earlier on giving Katie Archibald and Ellie Dickinson a bit of a round of applause. So maybe he's a bit motivated by that performance. Bit of an attack at the front by Roman Gladish. Men's Omnium in Manchester was Ben Thomas of France, Nicolas Larson, Albert Torres. They were the riders who took the victory. The bell goes again. And it looks like Roman Gladish being hunted down here by Campbell Stewart of New Zealand. And the Belgian rider scores some points. Maximilian Bayer looked like he took the points away from Hollywood, the race leader. Campbell Stewart takes 5. He's starting to move up now. Interesting move by him. Roman Gladish second, De Wilde third, Bayer fourth, which leaves the standings like this. Hollywood leads, Suter second, Nicolas Larson third, and Campbell Stewart now has moved himself nicely into fourth within touching distance of the lead. Two riders going clear. The Canadian rider, that is Aidan Caves. And he's been joined by Ignacio Prado, the 24-year-old Mexican. And this is a good move by them. They are not far from taking a lap. I don't think the peloton will be too worried about them. They may let them take the 20 points. Ignacio Prado is suffering. And Aidan Caves takes 20 points. A great performance by him. He's moved himself up to 70 points. 10th place overall now for Aidan Caves. That was a cheeky move then by Aidan Caves. Took a lap very, very fast. And Ignacio Prado has also taken 20 points, which puts him now into 6th place overall. Big attack by Azulkan Turar. He's the rider in the turquoise and yellow, riding for Kazakhstan. It's a little bit of a lead. This is another rider who won't really bother the rest of the riders. They might let him take 20 points. As if you saw someone like De Wilde, Stasnowski, Prado again next time, Volokakis, if they tried to take a lap, everybody else would pounce on them. Coming up to the next sprint. And it looks, oh, blanket finish. Hollywood was up there, so was Stasnowski, and Sang-Hoon Park also. We're counting down to the midway point. Hollywood with 5 points, Sanglin Park with 3, Stasnowski with 2, Maximilian Bay with 1 point. That means that Hollywood now has a 6-point advantage on Gail Suter. Larson still in 3rd, Campbell Stewart in 4th place. Now these style of races are really very tough. There's the leader, and you never know when your legs are going to give out, because it's constant acceleration, driving all the time, trying to keep the pressure on the pedals. Gail Suter has some work to do now. So Swiss fans, you need to give him a little bit of encouragement here. Ollie Karkis has ridden a great run of races. He's 5th overall now.
Here comes New Zealand on the inside.
Working hard to try to make it into that top 3.
The New Zealander now presses on the pedals. Goes clear. Decides to sit up though. As we see, Roman Gladish of the Ukraine also swing up. 55 laps of racing to go. Thank you very much for your company during this afternoon and evening racing. Very much appreciated. Hope you've enjoyed the racing so far. The next round of the World Cup will be in Santiago in Chile. We'll bring you more live racing from Santiago in Chile in 1 week's time. As we see Campbell Stewart going clear. 4th place overall. This is a very dangerous move. 52 laps to go. Nicholas Larson and Campbell Stewart go clear. Hollywood has now attacked as well with the Mexican rider Prado. This is a big move for Campbell Stewart and also Nicholas Larson. It would put Larson into the lead if he took 20 points, but Hollywood is reacting. He's got to measure his effort. Everyone does. This is a fast tempo race right now. As we see the points being taken by Campbell Stewart. 50 laps to go, the midway point in the final race of the Omnium. Stewart and Larson combining well at the front here. Larson with 3, Stewart with 5, Wood with 2, Prado with 1. 5 more sprints to go. Hollywood leads with 120 to Suter's 112. Larson on 107, and Stewart is so close now to moving himself into the medals. This is a very dangerous breakaway. Larson, if he took this, would be on 127 points. Stewart would be on 118, which would put them into 1st and 3rd place, respectively. So Gail Suter and Ollie Wood have to do something about this. Suter is combining with Ollie Wood. I don't know if Gail Suter has the legs today in this final race. Larson looking up all the time, using the screen at the far end to good effect. Ollie Wood, I think, has burnt his legs here. He's drifting back. That's a bit ominous for the young British rider, because Larson is putting everyone under pressure now as he goes on. Larson has been 2nd in the Omnium in Manchester, and he took the Omnium in Pruskov, and Larson now is building a lead. The Danish rider, looks like he's suffering on the bike, has now opened up this lead. And he has to do something to bring Larsen back. What a tough race this is. Peter Schultz, thanks for your message. Thanks for watching today's coverage. Larsen is slowly but surely getting there. 5 points in, 3 to Stasnowski, 2 to De Wilde. Polikakis again scores a point, still in 6th place. Not bad for an ex-Keirin rider who is now turning his attention to the Omnium. Ollie Wood leads, 120 points, Suter 112, Larsen 112. Larsen, any moment now, is going to be almost on the tail of the peloton, which would put him, if he does get there, on 132 points. Well ahead of Wood and Suter. This is a big move now by Larsen. Wood is in all sorts of pain. You can see it on his face. I said a little while earlier that if you put in too many efforts, this is such a tough bike race, suddenly your legs can give out and you don't know when. You can see Ollie Wood, look at the face on him, the teeth are showing, and Larsen is smoothly riding his way to the back of his peloton. In a moment, Nicholas Larsen becomes the leader of this Omnium, and he will have a huge lead. Perfect riding by the Danish rider. Here he goes. Nicholas Larsen is going to put himself firmly at the top of the Omnium. 32 laps to go, and he'll go on to 132 points. Larsen has done it. He's there. Nicholas Larsen now firmly in the lead, 12 points ahead. And Ollie Wood, with those accelerations, has, I think, burnt his legs completely. He's in all sorts of trouble. It could be here that the likes of Campbell Stewart could find himself moving up into one of the medal positions. Great performance by the New Zealander. The Omnium is never over until that last lap. Stasnowski takes 5, Stewart takes 3, Polikakis takes 2, Imamura takes 1 point. Polikakis still scoring. The standings now look at this, with 3 sprints to go. Larsen with 132, Wood with 120. Gail Suter on 112. Campbell Stewart sneaks over the 100 points mark with 101. And Larsen, having caught the field, is now going on the attack again. Ollie Wood, though, seems to have recovered a little bit. But Larsen, to me, has got fast legs in this Omnium. Down Ollie Wood and Suter. 26 laps to go.
This is going to be a very tedious final 25 laps for these riders.
Larsen closes up the rest of the field then. The front of the race calms down. Everyone in this peloton is absolutely on their knees. They are feeling this pressure. Gail Suter's shoulders are almost round his ears. beautiful way to end a nice day in Milton. So can Campbell Stewart get himself onto the podium? Will Gail Suter hold on? Right now, Nicholas Larsson just has to watch everybody, use the remote control, bring them back when he needs to, and he'll win this Omnium. Ollie Wood for a while looked like he was the rider who was going to take it, but he just couldn't go with Larsson. And right now, when he gets out of the saddle, you can see those legs are almost buckling under pain. This is a tough, tough event. 22 laps to go. 3 more sprints. Lindsay de Wilde won the Madison. He's at the front, and the bell goes again. Wood looking for any sort of gap that he can go through. On the front then is the German rider, Maximilian Bayer. He's going to take the sprint this time. So it's Bayer, and yet again Campbell Stewart scores some points for New Zealand. Sprint number 8, Maximilian Bayer with 5, Volikakis with 3. Volikakis scoring even more points. Campbell Stewart with 2, and de Wilde with 1. You would have said that Volikakis would not have the endurance to be here sprinting like this at this time in the race. Larsson leads, 12 points on Wood, 20 points on Suter. Campbell Stewart now on 103. Hayden Caves going clear. He's already scored 20 points for 1 lap. He's on 70. He's 11th overall. He wants to move himself up the standings. If he took this, he would go into 7th. This points race just swaps everything around, doesn't it? 16 laps to go. Big attack from the Japanese rider. Shinsuke Imamura goes on the attack to try and go across the leaders. The lead, there he is, wearing number 19. But the leading riders, little group of 3, and also Lindsay de Wilde has tried to go up there. Right now, Nicholas Larsson has to do nothing except finish. Group of 5 riders at the front, led by the Spanish rider, Pilar Zuzubiskia. Ollie Wood must be wondering what he has to do here. Tracking Nicholas Larsson. But 5 riders clear. One of them a Canadian, Hayden Caves. They're building their lead. Lindsay de Wilde is one of them. This would put him on 109 points. It would put him almost into the bronze medal position if he can take the lap. One of them, though, at the front of this peloton, Volikakis, 11 laps to go. The next sprint is about to happen, and it's going to happen with the Canadian rider Hayden Caves and de Wilde. Caves would move up, de Wilde would move up if they can take this lap. This is a big move now. And it is the Hong Kong-China rider who takes it, Lung Chung-Wing. But de Wilde is just keen on trying to make their way to the back of the peloton. Only 10 laps to do it. Confirmation that Lung Chung-Wing took 5 points, Lindsay de Wilde 3, Hayden Caves took 2, and Shinsuke Imamura took 1 point. Only 1 sprint to go. Larsson leads, Wood 2nd, Suter 3rd, Stewart in 4th place. Double points on the last lap. The pace now going up. Campbell Stewart doesn't want this to just go down to the wire with a group going clear. And they're all across the track. Wood, Campbell Stewart, Nicholas Larsson. Gail Suter doesn't seem to have the legs to go with anything. And Ollie Wood has suddenly let a gap grow, which she didn't want to do. And Larsson has gone on the attack with Campbell Stewart. Ollie Wood seems to have decided that he is content with the silver medal. He knows that Larsson's on 1-3-2. They're about to catch the front again. 5 laps to go. And I think these two riders are going to go straight past and take the points. And Campbell Stewart's going to borrow or take the bronze medal. If he can take the maximum points here. It's all going to come down to the wire. Nicholas Larsson has won this Omnium. It's on 132. And Campbell Stewart looks around. He needs the maximum points here. Larsson may not know that. Otherwise, Campbell Stewart will end up 4th. 2 laps to go. De Wilder is there. One rider going clear is a Canadian rider. Big attack by Campbell Stewart. Larsson doesn't go. So this is the big bid for the bronze medal by Campbell Stewart. Campbell Stewart going for this one. He has to catch the Canadian rider in front of him. This is a big attack here. Is Campbell Stewart just going to be outwitted by the Canadian rider taking the maximum points, which he does? Campbell Stewart's going to end up in 4th place, just missing out on the medal. But the win in the Omnium goes to Nicholas Larsson. He's won 2 Omniums in this World Cup this season and taken another medal. Campbell Stewart will miss out on a medal by 3 points. Hayden Caves took 10, Stewart took 6, Stasinowski took 4. And Larsson, with that perfectly timed attack, put himself right at the top of the leaderboard. Here's the standings. Larsson wins, Wood in 2nd. Well, I think Larsson a little bit emotional after that that competition. He wins 132, Wood 2nd, 120, Suter 3rd. Stewart misses out on a medal by the Canadian taking the final sprint. There's the rundown of the top riders. Ollie Wood pleased with his silver medal. He just didn't have the legs to go with that attack. Well, quite often in that competition, Larsson looked like he just was suffering. But they dished it out to each other, didn't they? Kenny de Ketelaere congratulates Larsson. There's Christina Vogel getting ready for this Keirin final. Total concentration from her. Goes completely into the zone, doesn't she, when she gets ready for a race like this. Larsson still recovering from that Madison Omnium competition. Tough. up on the track then. The women's Keirin. This is the lineup. This is the 7th to 12th ride, and it will be Amelia Walsh on the track. Keirin Maeda, I don't know if she'll take to the line, but Lee Hai-jin has for People's Republic of Korea. The Japanese rider does take to the track, so Keirin Maeda, after that crash. Oh, sorry, this is Yuka Kobayashi, so she's on the track.
From the Japanese Professional Cycling Association,
Keirin Maeda up on the track, ready for this competition. Amelia Walsh. And from the United States of America, Mandy Marquardt. A bit of battle scarring on Kobayashi. Mandy Marquardt, who had that crash earlier on as well, allowed to ride for the 7th to 12th place. Bao Shanzhu, of course, not taking part. Derny bike winding the pace up. Amelia Walsh in second wheel. Mandy Marquardt leading there. It's exactly what she did in the previous heat, where she was knocked off. We sometimes get asked, why do they ride the 7th to 12th place as well? It's important for the overall points in the World Cup, their ranking in the world. Keirin Maeda is there in 3rd place, Keirin Maeda. Behind her is Kobayashi. Skin suit ripped after that crash. And Lee Hai-jin at the back. 3 laps to go. Marquardt on the front, looking around at Amelia. Marquardt now is turning up the tempo just a little bit more. She in 4th. Maeda makes a move around the top then. Maeda wants to stay out of any trouble. Making a move on the outside, Lee Hai-jin. Lee Hai-jin now accelerating. Very easily, 61.893 kilometers an hour. And Lee Hai-jin is the rider who takes 7th place. Replay of the sprint. Lee Hai-jin. So Lee Hai-jin is the winner of that run, 7th place, and we'll turn our attention in a moment to the final of the women's Keirin. Just to let you know what is coming up, we will have more action, the women's team pursuit finals and the award ceremony of this women's Keirin before we say goodnight to you from here in Milton and head to Santiago for the next round of the World Cup. This is the final then. Sara Kankowska of the Czech Republic, Katie Marchant of Great Britain, sprint medalist in the Olympic Games, Christina Vogel, Luz Daniela Gaffiola, Shana Braspanics and Natasha Hansen are the riders who are going to fight it out for the gold medal. In the World Cup series so far in the last few weeks, Christina Vogel unbeaten totally in any race discipline. Big deep breath by Sara Kankowska of the Czech Republic. Alongside her from Mexico, Luz Daniela Gaffiola. Shana Braspanics, 26 years of age, silver medalist in the World Championship in the Keirin. Natasha Hansen of New Zealand. Katie Marchant, bronze medalist in the sprint at the Olympic Games. And the reigning world champion, Christina Vogel, 9 times a world champion in different disciplines. And Vogel just likes to win. The bike gets going, 6 laps of the track. The little touches of pink on the gloves of Christina Vogel. She uses that for a little bit of good luck. Always has one touch of pink somewhere on her bike, on her clothing. Vogel decides to immediately go to the back of the bike. You'll notice the skin suit material, all different areas of that skin suit with different air flows across the fabric to help her slice through the air. Katie Marchant will have the same. So much technology going into the bikes, the skin suits, the visors, everything that these riders use to give themselves that little bit of an advantage. Sara at the back. Thank you to all of you for joining us throughout today. If you have enjoyed the racing, you want to ask questions for Santiago or before the end of today, at Ant McCrossan and at UCI_cycling is where all the information is. Daniela Gaffiola moving up in the red of Mexico. Kankowska there for the Czech Republic. Vogel staying out of trouble on the front. Marchant is right on the wheel. Gaffiola moving up on the outside, really close to Christina Vogel. Big sprint happening. Natasha Hansen makes her move. Big move by Natasha Hansen. Vogel now looking for the acceleration. Hansen goes to the front with 1 lap to go. Who's got the legs? Vogel now accelerating. Marchant looking for a way out. Hansen looking for a medal here. Braspanics makes her move. Vogel now accelerating clear. Christina Vogel takes it. Marchant takes second. And Braspanics takes 3rd place. Fantastic sprinting. Vogel leaves the World Cups with an unbeaten record in the finals of all disciplines in every race she's ridden. Fantastic sprinting by Christina Vogel. Vogel takes it. Marchant takes the silver. Braspanics takes the bronze. Average speed 63.531 kilometers an hour. Confirmation then of the women's Keirin final. Vogel takes it ahead of Marchant and Brass-Spannings. Let's take a look then at our final highlights of the day as we take a look at the women's team pursuit. Up on the track, the French team up against the Japanese squad of Suzuki, Nakamura, Hashimoto and Furuyama. Oops, almost coming to grief on the start line for Japan. Underway for both the squads in the women's team pursuit. And the Japanese team with a new track program now, aiming towards Tokyo 2020 and looking to try and put themselves in the world stage for the medals. Japan leading at this point, 22.383. French team flat out. A lot of talking going on in that Japanese team. 0.394 ahead after 500 meters. Picking up the tempo, and France already after 625 meters down to 3 riders. That's not going to help them in the latter stages of this race. And looking very, very... managing to get back on the wheel. The French team still down 0.179, and somehow after 1,000 meters, despite losing a rider and looking ragged, this team are losing. Go equal on time. The pace of France starting to increase, 0.043 ahead. Look at the changes of France. They're not slick at all over the place, and yet they are still winning. A little bit of work to do in that French team pursuit squad. They're definitely riding okay and they're revving okay. The Japanese look a lot more drilled, yet they're not going as quick. 0.416 down now. The French picking up the tempo into the final kilometre, and the French still together, 2.807 seconds ahead. The Japanese down to 3 riders, so equal number of riders on each side of the track into the final 500 meters of racing. This is for the decision of the bronze medal. 2.29 up, and it's purely academic now in the final lap. France just need to stay upright, and then they will win the bronze medal in the team pursuit. France, with a troubled ride, are going to be all smiles in a moment. They reach the line nearly 3 seconds ahead. 4:32, 4:66. Well, in fact, 3.084 seconds ahead. And so the ride for the gold. Beveridge, Foreman, Mackie, Gibson and Ariane Bonhomme. Kinley, Gibson and Ariane Bonhomme brought into the Canadian team as development riders, and now in this squad up against Drummond, Botha, James and Buchanan of New Zealand. These two squads always quick. The Canadians, of course, with other members of the team, medalists in World Championships and Olympic Games. The New Zealand team starting fast. The Canadians, though, slightly quicker, 0.012 through the opening stages of this contest. New Zealand slightly ahead, .028. Swinging back and forward between both these nations. The Canadian team looking good, being buoyed on by the crowd. The Milton motivation really starting to drive the Canadians forward. 2,000 metres. Canada 0.350 ahead, and the New Zealanders now very ragged. The gap's opening up between the wheels, nearly a second ahead. New Zealand need to get themselves back together because Canada want this one. They want to finish in the gold medal position in front of their home crowd. The New Zealand team all over the place. Nearly 2 seconds. In fact, now nearly 3 seconds. The Canadian team driving this one home. Nearly 3 seconds ahead. In fact, 3.5 now. They can see the New Zealanders in front of them. This could be a catch in the final. Canada picking the tempo up with 4 riders still in the team. This is going to be a catch for Canada. Nearly 5 seconds ahead. The fans going absolutely wild in this velodrome. They want to see the Canadians take the gold medal. Nearly 6 seconds now. Inside the final kilometre of racing. Canada about to lose a rider. The pace is very, very high. The Canadians closing in on the New Zealanders. The minute they are on the back wheel, then they will fire the gun, and that will be it. And there we go, the gun goes, and Canada take the gold medal. Pleasing the crowd of Milton, Canada win the World Cup, and New Zealand say well done to a well-drilled squad. Fantastic racing, bringing the crowd to their feet. The women's team pursuit won by Canada on their home velodrome.
Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge all our medalists.
It's awesome to come in front of a home crowd and have a win like this. Like, it's just so motivating for everything going forward. We're really looking forward to it. It was really awesome having the home everything track advantage. We know how the track is riding, so it was really special.
Représentant les pays.
Presentation of the women's thanks. Looking around, takes the bronze medal.
Winner of the silver medal, representing Great Britain.
Médaillé d'argent, représentant la Grande-Bretagne.
Katie Marchant.
All smiles, Katie Marchant takes the silver medal.
Tissot UCI Track Cycling World Cup, Women's Keirin gold medalist, representing Germany.
Médaillé d'or de la Coupe du Monde piste UCI Tissot, représentant l'Allemagne pour le Keirin femme,
Christina Vogel.
3 gold medals here in Milton. Christina Vogel wins the women's Keirin.
The flowers and gifts will be presented by Member of Parliament for Oakville, North Burlington, Pam Damoff.
Les fleurs et les cadeaux seront présentés par la députée pour Oakville Nord et Burlington, Pam Damoff.
And the flowers now being presented.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and now the national anthem.
Mesdames et messieurs, l'hymne national de l'Allemagne.
With an unbeaten record in the World Cups, she can now get herself ready for the build-up to the World Championships. There's our pose. Shanna Brad-Spanix, Katie Marchant, Chris here in Milton, here in Ontario. The first time they have hosted a World Cup. Millions of kids here. Fantastic racing, great action, thrills and spills along the way. And we're now going to head to Santiago in Chile for the next round of the World Cup before we close the season. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye for now.